wasn't part of the tour, but
Oh,
it's
it's all good.
I don't know if we can.
Wow, yeah. Man, I don't have any water around me at all, so to
No,
see the
no, no.
ocean's wonderful.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
it's nice to be. It's nice
Yeah.
to be here. A little warm though. Sometimes I don't know whether to have the AC or not, but a little warm.
Yeah. Well, I'm part cat, so I love the warmth. And we're kind
Okay,
of going through that thing here in Kansas City where it's not quite warm yet, and we're still getting cold spells. So yeah, it'll
that's nice. I like
yeah.
that. Not
Yeah.
too hot, warm, not too warm.
Yeah. We'll figure it out one way or another. So, but it's great to meet you, and you got so much going on in your life. And I'd like to begin our conversation with 4 years ago, this pandemic started. We didn't know where it was going to take us. And now that we're out of it, how did you survive that pandemic period and how did it change you?
So that was a little while ago, but it caught me in it caught me in Colombia. The year in Cali, Colombia. The year before, I have been in Cali, Colombia, and I had been told that there was a great meditation teacher, yoga instructor teacher in Cali, Colombia, and that I should consider doing yoga teacher training with them. So I moved there to do it to do the training that was in person. It was 3 modules, and again I moved to Cali, Colombia to do this training with this teacher. And after the first module, we went to lockdown, and I ended up doing the rest of the training through Zoom in Colombia.
Yeah.
So that was unexpected, but I happened to be on an Airbnb. Good room, a lot of room, good views. Cali was the cost of living were very good compared to any lots of other cities that I've lived. And the big worry that I had was to go back to Spain should something happen to my parents. So for a few days, I was told that the borders were going to close, and I didn't really know what to do. I got the news that borders were going to be closing down, so I had to make the decision whether to go back to Spain to be closer to my parents or not. But then I thought that it was going to be better for everyone's mental health for me to not to stay in an apartment with my parents, but for me to stay in Colombia. And I took that time to do 2 things. One was to do this yoga teacher training, but the other big thing that I did is I watched a workshop by the Scribe Media guys at the time by can't remember his name. A workshop about how to write a book. That was the key thing, and I got the message of a few years down the road, you will look at this time. Would you look and think that it was how proud would you feel? And what kind of memories will you have when you look back at this time? And I thought that using this time to write the first draft of my book was going to be the best thing that I could do.
Yeah. So speaking of writing, you have a lot of other things going on as an entrepreneur, an angel investor. If I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids right now, third graders, and one of the kids was curious, it's career day, and he asks you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
So it will be a long answer because I will share what I do for a living, but which is I'm an angel investor, like you said. I started a company that didn't work out, which is the story that I shared in the book. I'm an author. I am now writing. I just wrote this book, and I really want to bring it to as many founders as possible. And I'm an entrepreneur, so that's what I do, or that's how we can put a quick label on what I do and give an answer. But I would think more important than what I do is it's how I got here. And I don't know if you've seen uh, um, the speech from Steve Jobs in Stanford when he talks about connecting the dots, looking back. Do you know what I'm referring
I
to?
think so. Yeah, I think
A
I have
management
some.
speech in which he talks. We pretty much the idea is we just need to do what makes sense for us at this moment, and then things will make sense when we look back. You cannot plan a 5, 10, 15-year, 20-year trajectory looking forward. It's even impossible to perfectly plan the next 4 days in your head and for them to come how you expect them to be to go. So yeah, this is where I am now, but I'm not sure this is the job that you can get right out of high school or college. This is where I am now after 15, 20 years, I don't know, more than 20 years of doing lots of other things that have brought me here. So I've never had a very clear direction. Some people know they want to be whatever they want to be. In my family, judges or go up the corporate ladder. I never had a long-term plan. For me, it was always what resonated more as the opportunities came, and that's what took me to all over the world. Yeah, from Indonesia, many places in the U.S., London. So I guess the short story is, yeah, this is what I'm doing. But I think what's more important is that you connect with what you want to do. You have a vision for yourself, but at the same time that you have a vision, breathe the opportunities that may come along the way that you don't know about now.
So what were the seeds early on in your life that were planted that made you become an entrepreneur and a writer?
Yeah, so let's think about this. So the seeds, I'll be a little rough. I think there was a lot of dissatisfaction with what I saw around. I would see the jobs, the lifestyles, the limitations that people had, and it just didn't appeal to me. I guess I'm not sure that I ever knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I probably went on a process of finding things that resonated, and this idea of it wasn't necessarily starting companies, but more than self-expressing what I had to share, and living in the possibility that if what I did made sense, it worked well, that I would be able to benefit from that in terms of freedom. I think more than anything, a freedom and let's say and a non-resonance with the status quo or with the lifestyle that I saw around me. That's what pushed me in the direction of pretty much exploring and seeing where this would take me. And the other part, after following this hard with the ups and downs for 15, 20 years, and after starting a company, working on it for 6 years and not working, and the company not working out, I felt that I had a story to tell, because I started sharing it during this period. I met lots of entrepreneurs, and we get to hear about those who make it, those big names, but we don't get to hear about all the other 90%. And when I started sharing my experience, I felt that it resonated with them because it was very similar to them. Yes, we all have our own different flavor, but there's emotions that are very common. The confusion, the frustrations, the fear. So two things came together. One, I really wanted to share the story, and two, I felt that it could benefit a lot of people, because there's lots of books about startups, and that's what I realized. And I read lots of them and about business, but not so many about the person building the business, which is very different. And it blows my mind how we almost completely miss the central element, which is the person that's going to have to go through to do all the things that need to be done in order for a company to be successful. So I like to say that I did not build a great company. My company, in fact, didn't make it. So I cannot give a lot of advice about how to building good companies, because I didn't do it, but I do know what the entrepreneur goes through in the attempt. Yeah. And I have a lot of experience about that. So I felt that was very important to take care of the entrepreneur.
So speaking of entrepreneurs, who's one of your favorite entrepreneur success stories, favorite business success stories out there?
So I guess the common names, the common big names come to mind, but to spice this thing up a little bit, there's an entrepreneur that I call towards the end of my book. crash course. His name is Jesse, and he started a company called Dinner Elf. I haven't talked to. We were friends 10 years ago. I don't think I've spoken to him in 8 or 10 years ago. If he ever sees this this video, he's gonna understand that he still made an impression of me. But what I remember two things that he after I think it was after college, he started a company to meet the needs of people that were just graduating. So he understood the stage in life that he was, and he was building products. I think it was like a guide for students to survive after graduation, something along those lines. And then many years later, he had a family, and he didn't have time to cook, he or his wife. But at the same time, he didn't want to be going out for dinner. So he started a company for someone to come to your house to do homemade foods, to cook in your kitchen, then clean and leave you food for a few days. And the reason why this resonates, it's because if I just explain it like this, it doesn't sound like such a big deal. But when I was going through, when I was looking at, listening to him all the challenges that he was having to go through, you will be amazed by how many different challenges from different areas, from legal aspects of working with the food, contacting people, like the portion sizing. It was such an amount of detail that he had to not detail, just so many things that he had to figure out that in my heart I was thinking, I think this is too much. Anybody else would quit, and he didn't. And that's why I think being an entrepreneur is one of the big things that makes it so challenging. It's how ambiguous it is, because on one hand, you cannot give up the first challenge. There's lots of challenges that you're gonna need to overcome if you want your company to succeed. But at the same time, at what point do you say this is enough? This is not working.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, 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 really hard answer. I don't know the answer, and I think the answer would go on a day-to-day basis, on a specific situation basis, because everybody will have to self-assess. We always have this idea that success could be one call away, one connection away, one email away. So we live in this promise, but at the same time, it's not happening. The promise, it's not happening. So we need to, on one hand, we need to believe and live in fantasy, but on the other hand, we need to live in reality.
Yeah.
And that's what made it a little challenging. For me, having one foot in the dream and having one foot at the same time in reality, because you need to have sensitivity for what's going around you. And
yeah, I
that
totally
was a longer answer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. No, that totally makes sense. So I'm curious, in your life as an entrepreneur and as an investor and a writer, what is it that gets you out of bed every day? What motivates you to do the work that you do and to also evolve as a person yourself?
So a couple of things. I think my approach to entrepreneurship maybe didn't work out, because I think there's a part of me that wants to express. So that's what's getting, when you ask what gets me out of bed, I feel like I have something here inside that I need to put out there. So it's a little bit like an artist. So that's what originated the book, and I also feel like I have this capacity to connect ideas that weren't connected before. So I have a lot of joy from expressing those. And what was the other part of the question?
Just how do you evolve as a person yourself too?
How do I evolve? So that's a big part of what I do. So I have a big part of what I do is growth, self-growth, spirituality. Every year I go for a couple of months to a meditation retreat in Mexico. So I put a lot of attention into how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, into see myself but in a natural way. I don't like to be screening myself as if I was under a microscope, but just to continue being more in touch with myself, to have self-awareness and see how do I respond to people, what kind of choices do I make. Yeah, those are the kind of things that I pay a lot of attention, and I have a lot of support. Very often, if I feel that I'm a little blocked or that I need help moving an emotion, I will call some of my meditation teachers, and they would support me in the process, or other fellow facilitators. I'm an instructor in the system. It's called the Asia system. So I could call for, let's call it support, and very quickly someone would be calling me to help me move through the emotion. It's not so much about giving me specific advice. It's more about moving the emotion that's producing the block. So with that release, you have the mental clarity, and then you have continue. So I have a lot of support, and I have a lot of focus. To me, this is important, because being an entrepreneur, connecting this to being an entrepreneur, I realized sometimes it would be 2, 3, 4 p.m. and I realized that I hadn't done anything productive in the day, not because of lack of motivation, but because I was completely stuck. So I am starting to be a little bit quicker in realizing when I'm stuck, and I'm stacking me, and I'm stacking myself. The quicker, the better. That's something that I pay a lot of attention to.
What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
The best advice that I've ever gotten. I was seeing a couple of your videos, and I was looking at your question, and I was thinking about this. I don't know if this is the best advice, but I'll share a personal story that means a lot. So when I was around 25 years old, I lived in Indonesia. I was my whole body started hurting. My knees, my ankles, my wrists, everything started hurting, and I was getting a lot of support from my dad. He was in Spain, and he told me about, I think it was some, I don't know, some guy from some story. I think it was called the Mr. Munchausen. Again, I'm sure butchering this name, but I maybe I could look for it if there's something out there in the world. But Baron, I think he called it in Spanish Baron de Munchausen, so the Mr. of Munchausen. The story is that he fell with his horse in a big hole, and he told me that what he did to get out of the hole was to pull himself from his hair. So that's the story. I'm not sure if there's somewhere on the internet, but that was the kind of motivation that I needed, because on one hand it mixes, and I've never reflected on this, but I think on one hand it mixes the absurdity, but on the other hand it brings a component of anything is possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I felt, and it helped me a lot. That you don't know how. Yeah, I think the message is you don't know how you're gonna do it, but you can do it. So pull yourself from your hurt to get out of the. Again, imagine a big hole with a horse, so someone, I guess, pulling him upside. Yeah, pulling him up. So yeah, that's what's coming, and I feel like that's what lots of us have to do very often, and mostly. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to do that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Of all of the things that you've done and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'm sure there's a lot, but I'm going to bring it to, I guess, the past is starting to have less weight on me. It's even hard for me to think what I had for breakfast 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say what's taking a big piece of my heart these days, and I'm going to take the chance to do a little bit of promotion, is this book, Crash Course, and I'm going to tell you, I'm really proud for a couple of reasons, for a few. One, for the story, that it's very personal. It's a business memoir, so I share everything about my entrepreneurial journey. it's very raw. So what about what I'm putting out so I'm putting myself out there, but the process was hard. I had never written a book. I think I can write, but one of the first pieces of feedback that I got was, this story needs to be told, this book needs to be rewritten. So that was hard. So that the process of writing a book, it's something that I did not anticipate. Like everything, it ends up being much harder than you thought, because you didn't know what it took. And then the last component, the reason why I'm really proud, it's because several entrepreneurs have read it, and it resonates with the story. No matter if you're building a tech company, you're changing the world, even if you're just starting any big project by yourself, there's a lot of elements in the book, especially the focus on the emotions and of the person, that I think give a very unique message in comparison with the rest of the books that are out there. Because beyond the company working or not working, what needs to work is the person. It's meaning, call him the founder, living the life that he wants. And yes, we can all make sacrifices, but we cannot turn our life into a sacrifice. And we cannot see ourselves as a means for our company to work. So I think the message of validation of the person beyond the entrepreneur resonates a lot with founders, and I'm really proud with it.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your readers, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm someone who tries to have as much self-honesty as possible. Someone that, like lots of people in Western society, grew up or learned to live through the head, meaning we learned all these ideas of how life works, how we need to act to be approved, validated. We learn all these tricks of the mind that serves us until a certain point, but then they don't serve us for all the stages of life. So I'm someone that's learning to pay a little bit less attention to what my mind tells me about the world or myself, and someone that's learning to live more in the heart. And what that does is to be able to worry less, to trust more, and to be more free. And those are the qualities that I want to continue developing.
So if anyone wants to get Crash Course, reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business, where can they go?
Yes. So the first time I'm going to be saying in public my brand new website, Ricardo Jimenez, like my last name, ricardojimenezh.com. So there they will be able to find links to order the book, and there's also links to my LinkedIn, my Instagram, and other more links coming up. But that's the way to go. I can be reached there, so more than happy to get my first comments, feedbacks, open to whatever the world needs to share. And I would love to hear about other entrepreneurs. This is what I would really like. How their stories were similar and how they were different.
Wonderful. Ricardo, this has been wonderful. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with the book and with everything else. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Joe. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for having me in your show, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Yes, sir. Thank you.